that filtering and which the crawler cannot extract. All such files are to be removed. All such URLs which are associated with the file extensions that are not crawled by the URL should be discarded. And this can be achieved with only following the links that can be crawled, like .html files or .xml files, or discard the links which crawlers does not crawl, that is like PDF files or JPG files. So how you will identify the file types? By using file extensions. And sometimes the URLs may not include file extensions. Relying on file extension is most unreliable one. So for this purpose, the other way is, the most reliable way is to send an HTTP head request to the server and inspect the content type that we are getting as a response from the server. And one is by removing the file extensions, we are filtering the URLs, and the next type is with static and dynamic natures of the pages. So how you will identify the dynamic page of the dynamic page, whether the page is static page or a dynamic page, by seeing the URL. So inside the URL, if you see some of the URLs, you will have the extension like CGI bin. The CGI script are nothing but they are dynamic pages, and if you encounter this CGI bin in the URLs, that means they are dynamic pages. And apart from this, if you see question mark, equal to, and ampersand in the URL, that means they have some interaction with the database, and the database data are to be fetched or to be accessed, which which implies that the page is dynamic. So by introspecting the URLs with the CGI bin extensions, or by using question mark, equal to, and ampersand, we can find it out that they are the dynamic pages. And previously, see, everything, the programming is static, but now it's everything dynamic. That we required more interaction with the database. Either it may be a business applications or something search engines. The database interaction is more, and the dynamic content has become common. So most importantly, the dynamic nature is difficult to recognize via URL inspection nowadays, because we are no more we are using CJ script. We are using Python language, Java program to interact with the database and finding the database, dynamic pages by seeing the URLs has become difficult. So for that purpose, the crawlers are not making any distinction between static and dynamic contents. So if you are using get method only, we will get a question mark, equal to, and ampersand. If you use post method, in the URL, the content is not posted, so it's very difficult. So crawlers are not making any distinction between static and dynamic pages. And a crawler will not make query URLs autonomously, that means independently. It will happily crawl the URLs that will hard coded in HTML course of past pages. That means they are easily can be downloaded. That means static page and the dynamic page, all the HTML pages can be crawled. So you are extracting the links and they are added to the frontiers. So before adding the URLs to the frontiers, these URLs must be converted into absolute URLs. That is, the relative URLs should be converted into absolute URLs. See, for example, there is a relative URL called news today.html. This is entire path of this today.html is not mentioned here. So this relative URL should be converted into absolute path like this by adding http www. The entire path should be added. This is called as canonicalization. Converting one form to another form is canonicalization, canonical form. So converting, and even sometimes you need to add port numbers. And if it is web server, so that is port 80, you need not to add. Other port numbers you have to add. So converting relative URLs is just one of many steps that make canonicalization process. Simply saying, converting a URL into relative URL into absolute URL is one of the forms of canonicalization. And some programming languages such as Perl will provide modules for this canonicalization. So let us see this table. So if it is a default port number and 80 port is added, so you have to convert it into canonical form, remove that 80. Okay. If it is a root directory, then you need to add a slash at the end. So all this are the forms of canonicalization. Any doubts? Okay. Yes, shall I proceed? Right. Spider traps. I think everyone knows this. What are spider traps are? What are spider traps? Anyone? Spider traps are nothing but హర్షిత్ నువ్వు రోజు లేట్ వస్తున్నావు.
మ్యామ్ ఇవాళ కొంచెం బయటికి వెళ్ళి ఇప్పుడే వచ్చాను మ్యామ్, సో కుదరలేదు.
ఈ రోజు కాదమ్మా, నువ్వు రోజు లేట్ వస్తున్నావు.
సారీ మ్యామ్.
ఓకే, సారీ కాదు, నాకు మధ్యలో మినిమైజ్ చేసి మళ్ళీ అడ్మిట్ చేయాల్సి వస్తుంది.
ఎస్ మ్యామ్.
Spider traps are nothing but misleading sites. These websites are the URLs which are created dynamically or modified based on some of the actions that are taken by the user or performed by the user. So how the misleading anedi ante, for example, say consider one of the page whose URL is X, and now from the X the user is traversing to Y. So obviously the URL will be X/Y, X/Y. Now from the Y, if say the user or the customer is traversing back to X, So now the new URL will become XYX. The path, the URL path has increased, and the crawler will think that this is the new URL that which is not visited, and it will download the X page again. But in fact, this page X is already downloaded. So these sites are misleading sites. By increasing the length of the URL, it misleads the crawler that it is a new page and that new page is downloaded again. This is a trap. That's why they are called as spider traps. Any doubt in the definition of spider traps? Guess చేయండి how you can avoid the spider traps. Simple guess how you will avoid the spider traps. If you are a programmer and you are downloading the pages based on the URLs, of course you are placing the URLs only in the frontiers, then how you will write the program to avoid the spider traps? Sir, I'll give the hint. See this URL. By seeing this, by seeing this URL itself, you can come up with some analysis. Path of the URL is repeated, and if the already visited pages are there, or we are coming back from one side to another side, right? See, the length of the original URL and the URL which is of spider trap is more, right? The simple programming technique. మామూలు URL కి స్పైడర్ ట్రాప్ URL కి డిఫరెన్స్ లెంత్ లో ఉంటుంది. సో యూ కెన్ రిస్ట్రిక్ట్ దిస్ లెంత్. మళ్ళీ వస్తుంది. ఓకే, సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద సైడ్ ఎఫెక్ట్స్ ఆఫ్ స్పైడర్ ట్రాప్? It will create an entry in the database every time you click on certain dynamic links, and these entries are not necessary because they are already visited pages. Entry will be there in the databases, and again we are downloading the same page without any new content. That means there are no changes in the page, the same content we are downloading again and the crawler is downloading again and again, and it wastes bandwidth and disk space. And even server side, the database will be filled up with the more and more visited pages. That is, the server database is filled with same pages. These are the side effects of spider traps. And in some cases, mainly in spider traps, the client need to send the cookies which are set by the server for the dynamic URLs. See, even manki dynamic pages pratisari it asks for cookies, right? So to avoid the spider traps, one of the method is to avoid cookies. Do not send or set the cookies at client side. Or either accepting or sending any cookies. And another way of tackling the spider traps is by limiting the URL size. The maximum say characters is 256. If longer than this 256 characters is encountered, then ignore the URL. Otherwise, scroll the URL. One thing, you are limiting the length of the URL, and even you can limit the number of pages that can be crawled. from a particular domain. So if you inside the spider, if you are under spider trap, again and again you are downloading the same pages, and that will continue. So if you can avoid the number of pages that can be downloaded from the same domain, then you can avoid the spider traps. Any doubts? Right. Page repository. So once the page is fetched, it should be stored for indexing purpose. So each page can be stored as a separate file. So in this case, each page must map to a unique file name. So you are storing, you are downloading a page, and each page or each site should be saved or reposited as a separate file. And when you are storing it as a separate file, each file should have a unique file name. And so how you will give the unique file name to each file that you have downloaded? This can be that URL should be mapped with your file names. That means compress the URL using MDF file and make that URL as a file name to the file that is you have downloaded. And the shortcoming of this approach is large scale crawlers would incur significant time and disk space overhead from the operating system to manage all these large number of single individual files. So when you are dealing with small number of individual files and which are in large number, it incurs more time and disk space. This is the main drawback of this approach. That means mapping each page URLs to the file names. So what is the more efficient solution? The more efficient solution is combine a few number of pages as a single large file and consider and name that file with some file names. What I am saying is combine few number of pages as a large number of file, and that URL should be as should consider as file name and page ID to uniquely identify each page. And apart from this, another better method is to store the database, store the files in the database, and the database itself will take care of indexing the pages in by some canonical URLs. And this cannot be handled by traditional RDBMS. There are special databases called as embedded databases are there, which is Berkeley DB, the Berkeley database, which is used for storing the files which are downloaded and mapping them to URLs. So we have seen three methods. One method is downloading the file, and each file you are giving a compact URL string as a name. And as it takes more time, we are combining the few files and naming it with one file, and we are identifying each page within that file with the file name and page ID. And the third method is using database. concurrency. So when we are writing a crawler program, the crawler will use network, CPU for processing, and a disk for storage. So each these three resources will have its own limitations. That means network has a bandwidth limitation, CPU has a speed limitation, and a disk, when you are storing the data in the disk, it will have seek transfer time. So when you are using sequential crawler and using one resource after another resource, at any time, two resources will be idle. So to speed up and to make all the three utilized at any time, you need to use the crawler program in concurrency. So that concurrency can be achieved through multiprocessing or threads. So whether you are using threads or process, it will follow standard parallel computation model. This is the standard parallel computation model. So when you are using thread and process, you know that each thread and process will work as independent crawler. But when there is a shared data, when they are accessing the shared data, that is when they are accessing the frontier or anything, that data should be synchronized. So at first they will give some seed URLs to the frontier managers, and this frontier manager is responsible for locking and unlocking the frontier data structure. So CPU utilization or disk, everything they'll do concurrently, but when they are using the shared data, they should be synchronized, and that will be done by frontier manager. And say at any time, if the frontier is empty, means it does not mean that it is empty forever. Some other processes may be waiting for a release of the lock so that they can add some URLs to the frontiers. So this can be done by the thread process manager. The processor thread manager will deal with such type of situations. Okay, if this is if any process locks the frontier, it makes other process to sleep for a while, and everything completes. The thread process manager is responsible for halting a particular process. Any doubts? Sequential frontier is already we have seen at the early stages: dequeuing, fetching the pages, and extracting the URLs from it. And after extracting the URLs, store the pages into the repository. If it is done, then again dequeue another URL, or else it will invoke the thread process and it may go into sleep mode. Any doubts? All right. Universal crawlers. In your syllabus, how many crawlers are there? There are two types of crawlers: universal crawlers and topical crawlers. Topical crawlers again is divided into focused crawlers. So universal crawlers ki topic crawlers ki difference ఏంటంటే universal crawlers will crawl all the pages, but topic crawlers, as the name suggests, only the particular topic will be crawled. That will study further. Just universal crawlers. So all search engines will use web crawlers to maintain their indices. They'll download and at the offline they'll get indexed. So while maintaining their indices, it incurs huge cost in terms of network bandwidth. So this huge cost of crawl is amortized. What do you mean by amortized?
యావరేజ్ మ్యామ్.
కాదు, డిస్ట్రిబ్యూట్.
ఓకే.
ఇఫ్ దెర్ ఆర్ 2 or more processes, ఈ బ్యాండ్ విడ్త్ కాస్ట్ అనేది అన్నిటికీ దాన్ని ఏమంటారు,
కంపెన్సేటెడ్ విత్ అదర్స్.
కంపెన్సేట్ విత్ అదర్స్ కాదు,
అదే అదే డిస్ట్రిబ్యూట్ ఆ వర్డ్ రావట్లేదు.
నాకు కూడా రావట్లేదమ్మా. అమోర్టైజ్ అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఏంటమ్మా, కాదమ్మా. ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ టేకింగ్ 2 lakhs ఆఫ్ లోన్ అనుకోండి. ఈ లోన్ మొత్తం 2 years కి 3 years కి డిస్ట్రిబ్యూట్ చేస్తాం కదా మనం. ఐ మీన్, హ్యావ్ యూ అండర్స్టూడ్ వాట్ ఐ వాంట్ టు సే? ఈక్వల్ గా ఉన్న కాస్ట్ ని ఎవ్రీ మంత్ మనం ఎట్లయితే డిస్ట్రిబ్యూట్ చేస్తామో, ఇఫ్ దెర్ ఆర్ మోర్ నెట్వర్క్స్, ద కాస్ట్ ఆఫ్ బ్యాండ్ విడ్త్ ఈస్ amortized ఓవర్ ద క్వరీస్. If the same data page or sorry web page is requested by many queries, so there will be same network bandwidth kada. This network bandwidth cost is distributed over many queries. Silence, why silence? Have you understood?
Yes ma'am, understood ma'am.
Okay, right. So huge cost of crawl is amortized over many queries received between successive index updates designed for the incremental updates. So the large scale universal crawlers differ from the so we are talking about the universal crawlers, which are large scale crawlers. They differ from the concurrent breadth first crawlers. In what way they differ between this concurrent breadth first crawlers and universal crawlers? They differ in performance and policy. See, the name itself saying that universal crawlers means they are large scale crawlers, so they need to scale up billions of pages. Breadth first crawlers are not scale up with billion of pages, but universal crawlers need to, because they are scrolling many pages, so scaling is important. Next, and we are saying that they need to crawl billions of pages, but is the web is confined to billions? It's more than billions, right? So you cannot crawl all the pages which are there in the web. Web is very, very huge. So on what basis you will crawl the pages which are there in the web? So we need to decide the important pages. So what policy we are making? They need to cover as much as possible the most important pages on the web. So this, first of all, we are saying that need to scale up a billion pages, and they need to cover most important pages. So to satisfy these dimensions, that is performance and policy, the crawlers must be designed very well to achieve the good trade-off between their objectives. So this is the architecture of large scale crawlers. We'll see one by one what are these. Scalability. The first one is scalability. So in the previous slide we said that while achieving this concurrency, we are going for synchronization. But whereas large scale parallels use asynchronous sockets instead of synchronous sockets. So when you use multiprocessing and multi-threading, they do not scale up with billions of pages. So why we are using asynchronous sockets? Because asynchronous sockets are non-blocking. I think you all of you know all these terms. Anyone don't know these words? Asynchronous ante enti, non-blocking ante enti? Anyone need explanation? All right. So asynchronous sockets are non-blocking, so that single process or thread can keep hundreds of connections. Using one thread, you can have many connections which can open simultaneously. So why we are using asynchronous socket? Because to eliminate overhead due to managing threads or process. See, when you are using synchronous socket and once we are using multiple threads concept, in what way the overhead will be? Overhead eliminates the overhead. What is this overhead? చెప్పండి అది. I am saying to eliminate the overhead. If it is a synchronous socket, what type of overhead will you will encounter?
టైం డిలే మ్యామ్.
టైం డిలే. అదే టైం డిలే అసలు
ఐ
ఓవర్
మీన్
హెడ్
అంటే
చెప్పమ్మా.
అంటే లైక్ చాలా టైం పడుతుంది కదా మ్యామ్ అసింక్రనస్. నో మ్యామ్, ఐ కన్ఫ్యూజ్డ్.
సింక్రనస్ అయితే
సింక్రనస్ అయితే టైం
ఓవర్ హెడ్ ఉంటుంది. ఆ ఓవర్ హెడ్ ని ఎలిమినేట్ చేయడానికి అసింక్రనస్. ఓకే, ఈ స్టేట్మెంట్ క్లియర్ గా ఉంది. కానీ సింక్రనస్ లో ఓవర్ హెడ్ ఏంటి? వాట్ ఈస్ దట్ ఓవర్ హెడ్? See, when you are using synchronous, how you will achieve this synchronous? By using sleep function or lock methods. లాక్ ఉండాలి, స్లీప్ అవేకన్ మళ్ళీ ప్రాసెసర్ కదా. సో when client and server or host and servers, two machines, when they want to communicate, sleep mode nunchi if one machine is awaking from the sleep mode, means that it should acknowledge the other system that it has awakened, so that the communication takes place. సో మళ్ళీ సెకండ్ సిస్టమ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ రెడీ టు సెండ్ అని చెప్పేసి ఎక్నాలెడ్జ్మెంట్స్ ఇవ్వడం, ఇట్స్ ఏ 3-way హ్యాండ్ షేక్ కదా. ఆల్ దిస్ ఓవర్ హెడ్ విల్ గెట్ రిడ్యూస్డ్. It should inform the other systems that it is out of sleep mode అని చెప్పి ఇన్ఫార్మ్ చేయాలి కదా డిస్ట్రిబ్యూటెడ్ డేటాబేసెస్ లో అదర్స్ సిస్టమ్స్ కి. సింక్రనస్ అయితే హ్యావ్ యూ అండర్స్టూడ్?
Yes, ma'am.
Communication overhead will get reduced. Sockets are pulled. I think you know what is push and pull. అందుకని మీరు రాసాను. So what is when studying about sockets and communications, you study about two things: push and pull. Client pull is nothing but polling ante client pull అని. Client pull is nothing but asking the server for updates at certain regular intervals. So sockets are pulled to monitor their states. So So when you are using asynchronous socket, even while using asynchronous sockets, the efficiency can be improved by making use of more number of queues. Till now, we have used only one queue, that means one frontier, and one frontier is accessed by many other processors. So instead of that, you can write a program by improving efficiency, like by maintaining more number of queues. So few threads will write to few number of queues, or and other sub threads or process will write to other queues, so that the efficiency will increase. When you increase number of queues, the efficiency also increases. So this will minimize the overhead of TCP opening and closing handshakes. Next. For scalability, the crawler needs to resolve the host names in URLs to IP address. So there will be some host names for some URLs, so that URLs should be converted into IP addresses. The connections to domain name system servers for this purpose opens a two TCP connections to the DNS server for each URL. If you are using domain name systems, why we need to convert into IP address means, if you are using domain name systems, for new TCP connections for each DNS server will be opened. So to resolve this or to address these situations, you can use the UDP connection, which is unreliable connection. And tell me when to use the TCP connection and when to use UDP connection. TCP is a reliable connection, whereas UDP is a unreliable connection. Then when reliable connection like TCP is there, why to use UDP?
Ma'am, so that this communication overhead you said before, ma'am, that one will
Yes,
reduce.
yes, communication overhead.
Handshake procedure,
Yes. So,
handshake is not required.
and ఏంటమ్మా? Okay. Right. So when reliable is required, we use a TCP. When the speed is required, UDP. So UDP lo, for example, some files miss అని అనుకోండి. Then say UDP lo, say for example, UDP is used for uh, transmission of video or audio. Mainly UDP, wherein the speed requires, you cannot wait for a file to be downloaded for hours of time, or online news channel only. So the communication or the transmission should be fast. In that case, you use UDP instead of TCP, because there you can't spare for the delay. But in that case, if some of the files are lost in the communication, then the actual content will not be lost. The clarity or the quality of the content will be lost. Even the quality is lost, the end user can understand or interpret that content. Only few bytes or few bytes of the data will be lost. Our data loss avadam valla communications clarity will get lost, but not the content will be lost. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Coverage, freshness, importance. So earlier itself we have said that it is not feasible for even for the large scale crawlers to index all the pages that are there in the web. So the search engines aims to focus on important pages. And this, how you will decide the important pages? That is based on the IndGree or PageRank, and we'll get PageRank based on the link structures, link popularity. That is IndGree. So simple BFC algorithm will fetch the pages with highest page rank. So to obtain fair sample of the web, one would have to apply the reverse bias. What is this reverse bias? We'll see. So suppose that we are starting with some random web pages, and we wanted that random samples of pages drawn with some uniform probability distribution across all the pages. So we can write this posterior probability. That means we have some seed pages and we need to add a page to already available pages, some pages. So this posterior probability can be written as PR of accept of P given crawl of P into probability of crawl of P. We know where the first one is conditional probability of accepting whether we are if the page is accepted, then it is crawled, right? So accepting the page into simple given that it was crawled. The second factor is prior probability of crawling the page. So using some probability also we can estimate what are the probabilities that can be fetched given the seed pages. And this prior probabilities is given by page rank of P and can be approximated during the random walk by with how much frequencies these pages are crawled, even that are to be considered. Next. Our goal is to access as many pages as required, and even we need to maintain fresh indexes because the web is dynamic, or more added every time. That means pages are added, deleted, and modified. So we need to maintain fresh indexes. So for that purpose, it is necessary to crawl or revisit the pages already in the index in order to keep the index up to date. So how we will make all this is not given, but simply there are many studies are made and analyze the dynamics of web based on statistical properties. Based on some statistical properties, at few intervals of time, these indexes are maintained afresh. And before statistic properties, early studies relies on HTTP header for this revisiting of pages. Okay, right, I'm stopping here. We have one more topic. మీరు థర్డ్ యూనిట్ స్టార్ట్